Battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got Bob Savage here with us as well.
Indeed you do, because this is me.
I tell you what, Bob, I don't know about you. I'm starting to get a little scruffy here with not having access to a haircut.
Yeah, I just got the phone call from my the lady who's cut my hair now for the last 33 years, saying, "Yeah, I know you have an appointment later on this week. Forget about it." But we have we do have hope. I think we're starting to look like maybe things will start to crank up again here, because that seems to be the way things are starting to go.
Yeah, I would agree. I think in general things seem to be winding down. Government's talking about loosening up some restrictions, and some of that stuff. It's interesting. I heard Cuomo today saying, "Oh, we never shut off the economy. We just turned it way down," which
Yeah,
I guess
he
is
wishes.
technically true, but it's really impacted so many people that you can't sit there and think that this isn't going to have negative repercussions for a very, very long time.
Well, hopefully not too long. I mean, basically what's going on is I think the Trump administration has looked at some of the vectors, the way that things are going, and has said, okay, you know what, this can't continue. First of all, the COVID virus increasingly looks like it has been completely oversold and is being opportunistically exploited for political reasons. That's a very poor reason, first of all, to scare the stuffing out of everybody, and number two, to trash the economy and put everybody out of work. That's good. So all of these things are all coming together, and it's got to stop.
Yeah, well, I think government has a lot to gain out of this when government creates a problem that then they're the only ones in the position to solve, which we see constantly throughout history. But I think we're going to see a lot of government come in and say, look, we're the knights in shining armor here to save you from this thing, and, we hear them use the terms like we're fighting a war against this virus. They're certainly setting themselves up to be the heroes in this situation when in fact they were the ones that shut the economy down to begin with.
That's right. I think people are smarter than that. I think they realize, for the most part, that this is, as I said, opportunistic. I mean, we have several powerful factions going on here. First of all, we have the political opposition to the Trump administration, Trump derangement syndrome writ large here, where it's just an opportunity to blame something on Trump. It's being inflated beyond all reason by the media into something that they feel that they can either blame on him, or they can blame the negative effects of that on him, either from his actions or from his inactions, because the left has the usual schizoid approach to this whole thing. It's either everything's all his fault, or things are his fault because he didn't do the things that they don't like him doing right now. He didn't do them fast enough. So it's a little hard to reconcile all those.
Yeah, no, and I would agree. I think that the media and the left is never going to be happy with what happened and the actions taken. There are some actions I think the federal government could have done better. We can talk about that a little bit later in the show. But also, the thing I'm still trying to figure out and analyze and take a look at is, a lot of this stuff started in Europe first. This alarmism, this fear, this shutting down of economies and mandatory quarantines and stuff actually started in Europe way before we did it here. So I feel like there's got to be a bigger picture, bigger than the United States government. I think, sure, absolutely, people jumped on board with it. Some people with political, interests in mind. Some people with, to be quite honest, economic interests in mind. I talked with somebody the other day who is a part of an organization in the federal government, and, something they said is, well, I think some of the action you're seeing and some of the inaction you're seeing has a lot to do with money and who's donating funds where.
Well,
And
yeah,
I,
no
I
question.
agree 100%.
Right. I mean, well, first of all, like I said, we got the Trump derangement syndrome. We got the political left that's going after Trump. So there's that. Then you have the Democrat Party, which of course, any means necessary to try to unhorse Trump, they're going to use. They've tried every trick in the book up to now. Nothing has worked. So here's a real opportunity. I mean, it's something that scares people to death, and it puts government in the authoritarian role of also being, at least superficially the savior, because they get to send us checks of our own money. To help us, feel better about the fact that our jobs have been taken away. So they like that. I mean, they love that role. Then you have the tremendously powerful healthcare lobby and pharmaceutical industries in the United States, all the healthcare insurers and everybody else. This, of course, showers them with money. Now, I just want to point out that, all the dire predictions of, oh my gosh, the curve, the curve, look at the curve, got to flatten the curve. It's going to overwhelm our healthcare facilities. Not so much. Outside of New York City and a couple of other hotspots in major metropolitan areas, actually, the hospital occupancy rates are down because the hospitals have canceled all these elective surgeries. And those are big cash cows for the healthcare industry. So now they've kind of like shot themselves in the foot. And now, of course, they want a handout. And that's what you hear Nancy Pelosi talking about. We need to have a rescue package for hospitals and healthcare facilities.
Yeah, and the thing that's really interesting about this is I was pretty confident the direction Cuomo was going with this when he went to say that they were going to take the ventilators from upstate hospitals, and they, this whole entire thing. I thought that there was going to be, and there may still be, that this is a fluid, ever moving thing. I thought for sure that they were going to try to, and Cuomo even suggested multiple times, nationalizing the healthcare supplies and things like that.
Hey, there's an example, folks, of what we were just talking about. There it is. Another power grab from government.
Yep, 100%. And my thought was, if they were successful with that, which so far has not happened, they would then, when this is all done, say, you see how good that worked? We need single payer healthcare because government took over healthcare, and then we fixed this virus.
Yeah, fortunately, Trump didn't fall for it.
Yeah. So far that hasn't happened, but keep an eye out for it. You never know, that could happen. I do want to give you guys a couple numbers that came in over the weekend that are just interesting. You guys can take what you want from this data. New York State now has more confirmed COVID-19 cases than any country, obviously outside the United States. So more than Spain, more than Italy, more than China. Now, this could just be that we're doing more testing than everybody else. I don't know the rate of testing. And we are now at over 10,000 deaths. So take what you want with that data. That's just kind of like the raw numbers. I do find it very interesting, though, that New York State has more confirmed cases than any country. I don't know. I've heard people say, and I'm hesitant to say this on the air because I don't like spreading the possibility of information that's incorrect. But I have heard that if somebody passes away and they will do a test to see if they had COVID-19, and they will include that as cause for death.
No,
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, it's absolutely true. There's a like an internet meme going around. It's kind of a joke. Hypothetical two-car crash, strictly hypothetical, where the person who causes this T-bone crash in an intersection is absolutely knee walking, toilet hugging drunk. He's just totally blotto. Crashes into the other car. There's 4 people. They're all killed. Okay. One of the occupants, thankfully, again, this is a hypothetical, didn't happen. But one of the occupants in the other car at autopsy tests positive for exposure to COVID. All 4 deaths are classified as COVID-19 related, because that kind of thing is going on. The proper metric here is people who would not have died but for COVID-19, because COVID-19 opportunistically kills people who are elderly, who have compromised immune function, who have compromised pulmonary function, who are hypertensive, who are diabetic, who have HIV, who have any manner of other problems. But when those people die and they test positive for COVID-19, they are classified as COVID-19 related. You are absolutely correct, sir.
Yeah, and my gut thought was when I heard this and I saw this and I saw that we have more positive cases than any other country, that our state government, who is deeply in debt, very much in the hole to the tune of billions of dollars, would then say, well, we're short on funding. That's why this is happening. And sure enough, earlier today, Cuomo said, we're getting less funding per COVID case than any other state. So there you go. It's all rolling around, coming back to money and funding. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a brief break. We'll be back in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
College Assistance Plus has worked with thousands of families, saving them millions of dollars. It can be stressful choosing the right college, but we're here to help. CA Plus will guide you from college visits to college graduation and through every step in between. Each student and family situation is different, and we work to accommodate those specific needs. Call today for a free family meeting, 585-582-1846, or visit collegeassistanceplus.com for more information. College is expensive. College Assistance Plus can help.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Alexa, how long will the coronavirus last?
The virus itself may last only 2 more weeks or so, but the faction known as the Democrat Party will continue to make it last psychologically for at least 6 more months. Their motivation is to thoroughly ruin the economy and blame our great President Trump for it. They are trying to stop his inevitable re-election by any surreptitious means possible. It is well known that people who do not suffer from TDS are too smart for this hoax and will not allow it to go beyond 4 more weeks. The lazy Americans with TDS will continue to milk the government for more money and time off from work, confusing it with being their sugar daddy. We can agree that not longer than 4 to 6 weeks and America will be back online.
back to Andrew now. Thanks,
There
Alexa.
you go. I love that, confusing them for the sugar daddy. I tell you what, I think a lot of people are stuck in that part right there, especially if they. I hear a lot of people really excited about the money coming from the government, which as you stated, the government giving us our money back. And people are like, oh, this is so great. Oh, I'm getting, and first off, for the average person who's been out of work for, I don't even know, how long has it been, Bob? What day in quarantine are we? Does anybody know? I don't know.
I think we're approaching a month here. For
Month,
most people.
yeah,
I mean,
that's what I thought.
obviously not everybody didn't close all at once. I mean, but I think the beginning of this was about a month ago. Seems like 3 months ago.
Yeah. It feels like it's been a long time. I at least know that today's Monday. So for those of you who don't know what today is Monday. But I just look at the $1,200 check that people are supposed to be getting. Actually, I've seen on social media, apparently people already have their money. The first batch went out. $1,200, what is that compared to your normal monthly income anyways? I mean, government's basically said you're not allowed to work for 30 days. Is that your salary for 30 days? I'm thinking the average person, that's not the case, because last I looked, I think the average income in the United States, or the median income, is $52,000 or $53,000 a year, which would put you in the neighborhood of maybe $4,500 a month. You're getting $1,200. So
You get $500 a kid too, though. I mean, it is a one-time
Sure.
thing. So you got a family of 3.
Yep. Yeah, but in a family of 3 maybe, or 4, statistically speaking, both parents are working. So maybe that income would be more than $4,500.
So you get 29. So you're getting 2,900. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of these things that government's kind of just offering the carrot, to kind of settle things down.
This is the government perspective on things. These are the same people who come up with these great job creation programs where they say, well, we'll come up with a $6,000 stipend for you for every new job that you add, as if any sane business owner is going to add some $40,000 a year person, that they don't really need to get a $6,000 tax break.
Yeah, they just don't get it. Well, that's why things like what was it, Startup New York failed miserably. We spent $74 million and I think created 194 jobs or something like that.
Well,
I mean, it's just
TV
terrible.
stations loved it because they got big commercial buys.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I thought would be interesting to talk about today would be who has the authority and power to close schools. And the reason this is coming up is because de Blasio and Cuomo seem to be having a little fight over the weekend. De Blasio said schools in New York City will be shut down for the remainder of the school year. And Cuomo came back and said, you don't have the authority to do that. And this is bringing up some conversation because people are now wondering, like, yeah, who does have the right to open and close schools? Is it a localized item? Can the superintendent do that? Or is it the state's control? And in order to kind of discuss this, we'll talk maybe a little bit later about the pros and cons of each. But the first thing to really know and understand about New York State is you have the perception of localized control of your school districts because you get to elect people in your school board. And in some cases, you get to vote on your budget. Where I live, I don't even get to vote on my school budget. But some of the suburbs around me, they do get to vote on their school budget. Well, that gives you the perception of localization, the perception of local say, and maybe you have a little tiny bit of it, but really the control rests on the state, the Board of Regents, the Department of Education, because they control all the funding, they control all the money. All the money goes to the state, and they distribute it how and where they want, and they do it based on one thing: attendance. And what you'll find is when Cuomo went to shut down the New York State school system, districts were terrified because if they don't have each student in school for a certain number of days, they don't get their state funding. And it's a cost paid out per student. And so they were really worried. Now, a part of the executive order was to waive the number of days children had to be in school for the school year to receive their funding. But this is a really important issue, and the reason it's so important is because you're starting to see who truly has control over the education of your child if they're in public school. It is not your local board who you elect. It is indeed the state, and the state gets to pick and choose the rules that they want, and maintain control off of one simple little thing, and that is funding. And a lot of people think, and this is a little off topic, but worth mentioning, that, when push comes to shove, their local sheriff is going to stand up for the right constitutional issue, and defy the state. And I'm telling you, based on not only experience, but knowledge on how this works, it's not going to happen. The sheriffs get too much funding from the state. And not only that, the government can remove, or the governor can remove a sheriff. So it's very important to see that New York State has their claws sunk so deeply into every aspect of government, that your local superintendent, your local school board, they really don't actually have say in this stuff. Whether it was meant to be that way or not, that's the situation we sit in right now. So, in addition to that, I do want to talk about why this is such a big issue. It was kind of highlighted by the fight between Cuomo and De Blasio, but this is now bringing up the topic and the discussion on localization in your school district. Since you don't have say, it's worth mentioning the let's call them the pros. I guess we'll call them the pros and the cons, or the argument for centralized control. I hope everybody listening to the show is at least aware of the concept that centralized control does not work. That's something that we'll discuss further. But let's talk about the argument for it anyways, just for sake of having the argument there. Some of the things that people say for argument against localization would be then there's the same thing happening across the whole entire state. The same curriculum, the same grading scale, the same diploma. You can kind of cookie cutter every single thing. The other thing that people like for centralized control, especially of a school district, or all of the school districts, is this idea that since the state has the money and the state is determining the funding, money can be taken from, we'll call, wealthier districts and redistributed to poorer districts that maybe don't generate as much tax revenue. So that's another argument for for central control, is that, well, poorer people get taken care of by the government. Where have you heard that one before? And then the other thing is that in addition to all of this, you have your standardization, your control, state overseeing things. There's this idea that collaboration can happen. If the state's controlling it, the state can bring in the experts and determine what's best for you and for your child. I am going to disagree with that. So, guys, those are the arguments. Those are the things that people say this is why we should have centralized control. When we come back from the break, I'm going to tell you the argument against centralized control and why I think that localization is the absolute best route to go. We'll talk about that and more on Radio Free New York.
And a shout out to our fine Radio Free New York affiliates, WACK in Newark, New York, 1420 AM, 96.9 FM, and the guys in Elmira, Corning, the Patriot, 1230 and 1450 on the AM dial. I believe it's 107.9 and 103.3 in Elmira and Chemung County. We'll be back.
More than twice the power. More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. Expect strong, damaging winds in the forecast for today. Winds will be out of the south with gusts anywhere from 60, possibly 70 miles per hour this afternoon. We're looking at heavy rain at times with temperatures in the upper 60s. Can't rule out an isolated thunderstorm this afternoon. Once again, strong damaging winds in the forecast for Monday. Gusts anywhere from 60, possibly 70 miles per hour. This is Samantha LaRocca for WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
The Open Door Mission presents a Mission Minute with Executive Director Anna Valeria Eisman.
The Open Door Missions program for homeless women and children has been open for over a year now, and it seems like a good time to express our concern for the growing number of homeless children and families in our community and across the country. We need to give them a voice because they are unrecognized by many systems and public services. They are uncounted in homeless census numbers, they are underserved and invisible to many. But we see them. We see their attempt to find a place to stay for a night or a week or a month at a time. We see moms try to get their kids to school when they do not have an address to provide so a bus can pick them up. And we see smart, insightful, innocent children susceptible to the cycle of generational poverty because they do not have access to the support they need to develop. We are advocating for these families. Please visit opendoormission.com to learn more on how you can help.
Restoring hope and changing lives. opendoormission.com.
At Victor Chevrolet, we want you to know we are here for your transportation needs. Our factory-trained specialist in the Victor Service Department can expertly handle any repair. Our concierge service can arrange for pickup and delivery of your vehicle if you choose. We are here for repairs, maintenance, inspections, warranty work, and recalls. Victor Chevrolet can help no matter where you bought your car or truck. And if you need a new vehicle, Victor can sell you a car virtually on our website, victorchevrolet.com, or by appointment at our store. Call 869-6196. Trade-ins, financing, leasing. They're all available remotely and at your convenience. We're here to fully serve Chevy customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and throughout the Metro and Finger Lakes. Depend on Victor Chevrolet, here for you with sales or any service issue, no matter where you bought your vehicle. Give us a call at 869-6196 or visit victorchevrolet.com. You can depend on the team at Victor Chevy for all your transportation needs, now and in the future.
Our community will see this crisis through together. Today, we're solitary, but always in solidarity with one another to keep our people safe and secure. For more than 40 years, we've always been about safety and unity. And while our 3 locations are currently not open, we are at the ready to welcome you in again. For now, please visit showworldstores.com. Here's to health and wellness for you and the ones you love. A message from Show World, Henrietta, Mount Read, and Waterloo.
WYSL. Honey, we need help. Our air conditioner wasn't working very well last year, and it's going to get hot soon.
Well, why don't I call Taylor today and schedule an AC tune-up? It'll probably also save us on our utility bill.
Great idea. And we should have an AC tune-up done before every summer, so we're sure when the heat is on outside, our AC is working inside.
A Taylor AC tune-up. Pretty smart, if I say so myself.
Call Taylor. 500 help.
Liberty Dental in Greece is open for your emergency dental needs. We are available 7 days a week and can see emergency patients the same day. We accept Medicaid and ensure the latest sterilization techniques for your safety. Call Liberty Dental today, 434-2090.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're talking about the differences between centralized control and localized control specific to schools. De Blasio said New York City schools are going to be shut down for the remainder of the school year. Cuomo says you don't have the power or the authority to do that. Some people are like, wait, but aren't our school districts local? Don't we have our own local superintendent and our own local board? Don't we have any say in this locally? And not so much.
The irony is rich here. Andrew Cuomo pointing the finger at somebody and saying, "You're grabbing power."
Yeah, exactly. When has that ever happened? Yeah. No, it's important to point out. Yeah, Cuomo's telling people, no, you don't have the authority to do that. But then, the next second over, Cuomo says, well, I'm the one in charge. I get to make that decision. And technically speaking, he's right. I mean, the state holds the power for the money purse, and the state gets to control the funding and therefore gets to control the schools. Because if a district decided they were going to do their own thing, New York State just has to say, great, we won't give you any money. And that's as simple as that. And I'll give you a really good example. Rochester City School District, their budget is about $1 billion now, which is tragic. Yeah,
That's we just astonishing.
Yeah, it's terrible, really.
And they can't live in that budget either, by the way. They had to go get a $35 million bailout from the state, which they complain is not enough. They're still going to have a like $50 million they can't account for.
Yeah, no, for sure. And in the city of Rochester, in relation to that budget, kicks in about $100 million, which means over $900 million of funding comes from New York State. And it's kind of sad to say the measly $100 million. Imagine that statement, measly $100 million, comes from the actual localized city government. So if City of Rochester School District decided they were just going to operate outside of the state's rules, at most they would get $100 million out of their over $1 billion budget, assuming city government didn't say, hey, we're going to side with the state and give you nothing. So the state actually holds control. Before we went to break, I gave you guys some of the arguments used in favor of centralized control. Just talking a little bit about when people support centralized control and say it's the right answer, those are the arguments that they use. I truly believe that localization is the absolute best model. And some of you guys are going to sit here and go, but Andrew, we need to have things that are standardized. We need to have things that are consistent. What if the schools don't grade the same way? What if they don't teach the same curriculum? What if these things happens? What if? And I want to point you guys in the direction of private schools. Private schools already do things differently at a very successful rate, and in many ways more successful than public education. Homeschooled people, which there's this terrible myth that homeschooled kids are not as well educated, not as well socialized, which has been debunked countless times. Kids who are homeschooled are very intelligent, they are well socialized, they perform very well, but maybe they're not trained to pass state tests. And that's one of the biggest problems I see with centralized control, especially in New York State, is the way we have centralized control set up and how it's all driven based on attendance for your funding. What you find is the focus is on having people attending school, not educating them. And some people say, well, what about performance? Do schools get funding based on test scores? Well, that's an interesting question. Um, I It doesn't really happen, but when it does happen, it happens the wrong way. So one would think that the school district with the best test scores would get the most funding. No, that's not how it's going to work. The districts with the absolute worst test scores are then looked at and said, oh, they must not have enough money. That's why their test scores are so low. We should pump more money into this district, which totally takes the focus off of education. It focuses it on two things. One, attendance, which I've never seen a study that correlates attendance in school to success outside of school. And the second thing is it shifts the focus off of education and towards testing, and there's no reward to passing those standardized tests. In fact, if you do poorly on them, chances are your district will get more funding. So this whole system is very bad. It's very broken, and it rewards you for the wrong things. Um, so kind of getting that out of the way, what are some of the actual benefits to localized schools and localized control for schools? Well, the first is you actually get to have say. So you as a parent, you as a taxpayer, when you elect your school board, when you vote for your budget, you can actually then be voting on your taxes that you pay at home, which I think is really important because right now you essentially have taxation without representation when it comes to schools, specifically public schools. Because if you live in a home, or really any property in New York State, you are in one way or another paying school tax, whether you're paying it as the property owner or whether you're paying it as a renter and it's just built into your rent, you are paying school tax. But you have taxation without representation because you don't actually have control over the funding in the school. You kind of have the illusion of the control of budgeting if you can vote on your budget, but all the funds are still directed by the state. So we have a situation of taxation without representation. So that's the first win for localized schools. If your school district is localized, you actually have representation for your taxation, and you can actually control your school taxes. I think that's a really, really important thing for people to have. Other things are you can now have true say in your child's education. And to go even deeper in that, you can actually have education catered around the region that you live in. So I'll give you a really good example. In the southern tier, they might want farming included in their education track, livestock, planting, how to run a farm, how to milk a cow, what the latest technology is in farm production. These are important things for the southern tier. In the Finger Lakes, maybe they include some winemaking classes and different environmental conservation stuff. Same thing, North Country. They may have a focus on environmental conservation and other things like that. They would be allowed to create that curriculum and focus it around the area that they live in. Now, some people are probably thinking, well, Andrew, what if somebody learns how to be a farmer and they leave New York State and they move somewhere else? That's not to say those are the only things those schools would teach. And I tell you what, if things move localized, I bet you kids would learn math, reading, and writing a whole lot better than they do today on New York State's Common Core curriculum. And I know that a lot of parents feel the same way about this. But I do want to address the other piece here, which is that standardization piece. People are really, really worried that if you give local control to your schools, maybe you would lose standardization. that's not the case. The state could offer standards and schools could opt to follow those standards or not. With localized control, that doesn't mean you won't have standards. You would simply be allowed to vote to follow those standards. That's all it is. It gives you choice, and choice is very, very important. All right, guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
The Rochester area franchise dealers are here to help their customers through these trying times. Service departments and collision centers are open. Vehicle sales are initially done remotely by telephone or electronic means until you're ready to visit the dealership and take delivery of your vehicle. Proper social distancing and cleaning protocols are followed at all dealerships. Please contact your preferred dealer to schedule sales or service appointments for a safe check-in, drop-off, or pickup process. Be safe and know the franchise dealers are here for you, Rochester.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we're going to shift the conversation a little bit here now off of education and off of centralized control versus localization. Hopefully you guys agree with me that localization is going to be the best way to go about this. I want to talk about something that's just really bugging me, and I keep seeing this stuff on social media, and it's just bothering me. And what this is people floating around on social media, looking at business profile pages, looking at your personal page, and then when they see that somebody is out there in their community doing something kind for somebody, maybe they're open for business, maybe they've found a way to make their non-essential business viable during this coronavirus economic shutdown, they're going and trying to ruin these people's businesses and trying to sick the government on them for just trying to get by. And I've got an example here of somebody, I just screenshotted this, but it was somebody who commented on a post from one of the governors orders on non-essential stuff. And this person wrote, "How do I report a business that is non-essential and isn't following orders?" Somebody responds back, "Try the Gestapo app." And this person not understanding,
Of course,
you know.
of course, the person is such a dunce they didn't know what the Gestapo was.
Exactly. So they had no idea. They're like, "Oh, thank you so much. I'll go download it." You know.
I had a similar. I was in the grocery store. Just a quick aside here on the weekend, and of course, everybody's walking around with their dopey masks on. I'm sorry, you know, unless you're symptomatic, there's no reason for you to wear a mask. But what it does is it gives people this false sense of security. So this lady who I know in the grocery store works in the front end says, "Where's your mask?" I said, I held up my phone. I said, I've got the virtual mask. I got the app on my phone here. And she says, "Really?"
Yeah. You know, it's kind of funny. At Simple Tech, we tell people, you know, we filter the internet to make sure that COVID-19 doesn't transfer from computer to computer, and
Good.
so that's our. So
Do you
what
charge?
we're doing our.
Do you charge for that?
No, it's a free service. You know, we give it to the community.
Well, that's good of you.
You
That's
know, Yep. So all of our virtual meetings, we make sure that we're filtering COVID-19 from the internet, so that way nobody gets it on the on the conference call. But yeah, so I bring this up because it's just so frustrating to me to see people in the community so anxious and ready to hurt their neighbors who are trying to get by. And these are people, they're not putting people at risk. You know, it's one thing if somebody's purposely trying to harm another individual by purposely trying to infect them, or purposely putting somebody in danger who hasn't consented to that. And we did a show about this last week where I talked about, you know, this whole social distancing and mandating by the government. It's really a personal consent thing. If you want to be near somebody and you understand that, you know, they could be infected without symptoms and you could get it, and you're consenting to that because maybe you're low risk, or maybe you're high risk, but you know what the risk is. It's your body. You want to take that. Great. That should be your decision. And this idea that people are going out here and actively trying to harm other individuals by reporting them on things that are really not creating risk, I think it's just a terrible, tragic thing, and really shows people's true colors in this time of crisis, because that's where we are.
Yeah, the chickens are coming home to roost, because what you've got there is you've got these people who have been brought up through liberal indoctrination, riddled public schools and higher education, and they've learned to be little totalitarian, stormtroopers. So what they do is, they're completely dominated by and motivated by authority. So somebody puts out, some nitwit like Cuomo puts out some order, and they just buy into it wholesale, and they start ratting on their neighbors and friends.
Yeah, and I've spoken to people in law enforcement that said the calls that they're getting are just they've got stuff like people calling the cops because their neighbors went out for a jog. Somebody's out walking their dog. Somebody called the cops there. I know somebody in Buffalo whose son almost got arrested for being by himself in the park shooting hoops.
Yeah,
because Cuomo said you can't play basketball.
Dateline, California. Democrat governor has police arresting a lone Santa Monica man on an empty beach for the crime of attempting to swim in the ocean. There's nobody around. In Philadelphia, Democrat governor has police arrest a man for attempting to board an empty subway car without a mask on.
Yeah. And these are situations where you're not putting somebody else at risk. I totally get it. You go into, because this happened, I think, in maybe Pennsylvania, I'm not sure. An individual went into a Wegmans and purposely coughed on the produce and basically pretended to be infected. So Wegmans threw out, I think, $40,000 worth of produce. There's obviously damages involved. This person was being, definitely trying to cause harm, fear, and panic to somebody. I get that. I understand that. There's certainly a victim there. But you laying on a beach by yourself, who's the victim here? Who are you putting at risk? Those are things that is clearly just a terrible government overreach. And the thing that is just tragic to me is I expect government to overreach. By nature, government tries to grow and become more aggressive and does these bad things. I expect government to do that. What I didn't want to see, and what just makes me sad inside, is when I see individual people who are trying to do the same thing to members of their community. That part really kind of puts me down a bit.
But they're taking their cue from government. See,
Of course,
and of course they're conditioned to be part of this. The Democrat governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, she has ordered. All relatives they can't see relatives. I'm sorry, citizens. They can't see relatives or even use a second home or cottage they own elsewhere in the state. They can't go to their own other house.
Yeah, and if anything, like, you could split up the family and better social distance if half the family went to the cottage, which is actually interesting. I've heard, and I don't know, maybe I mentioned this in one of the other shows, that Airbnbs are starting to be rented and used when a family member's not sure if they're sick. They'll rent an Airbnb and self-quarantine somewhere else to not get the rest of their family sick. So the idea that the government's saying you can't go to another property that you own is a massive overreach. But B, what if somebody's like, you know what? I was in the grocery store. I'm actually not sure. Maybe I did come in contact with somebody who might be sick. I want to self-quarantine at the cottage. I'm going to go do that. Now government's saying you can't. I think that's a problem, 100%. So, yeah, I don't know. I just had to kind of get that off my chest, I guess. I'm seeing it a lot here locally. I'm seeing it a lot on social media. I'm also seeing, and I understand that some of this is fear-driven, by the way, so I want to maybe address that people are truly afraid. They are very afraid of the virus. They're scared that they're going to get it. They're scared they might die because of it.
Who generated the fear?
Yeah. Well, government, of course.
There you go.
Yeah,
the
the
government and the state might as well be the state media, all the major networks, because that's how they function.
Yeah. So I just want to reach out to anybody who is sitting there who may very well be scared, and say that's okay. It's okay that you're scared. I hope that you can get to a point where you're not scared, but you can be scared and not infringe on other people. You don't have to go ruin somebody else's day because they've consented to be with their family. They've assessed the risk and they've decided like that doesn't impact you.
How about growing a pair and not being scared? What's the point of being scared? I mean, look, don't be scared. It's a virus. Unless you are in a high at-risk part of the population, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, and I think that, we can't necessarily tell people how to feel about it, right? Each person's going to have their own individual feelings. And I think we should acknowledge that, and that's okay. I'd love to tell everybody not to be scared, but I don't think they're going to listen. It's like the dog that's stuck under the table when the fireworks go off. No matter how many times they say, oh, it's okay, it's just fireworks, the dog's still scared. So just let people live their lives. If they're not impacting you, if they're not bringing risk to you personally, don't try to bring government violence down on them. Our country was founded on the exact opposite. Guys, thanks for listening to Radio Free New York. We'll be back tomorrow.